again, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Sportsbook Confidential Podcast. My name is John Sullivan, and I'm coming to you live from the FingerLakes1.com studios in Seneca Falls, New York. And this little show here is to help you learn and grow as a sports bettor. And we're entering the NFL preseason. We're about 2 weeks away from some college football starting up. We've got half of our New York casinos offering sports betting. We're waiting on the other half, including here in Waterloo at the Del Lago. Today we're going to continue our NFL preview, and we're going to talk about the NFC South and a lot of interesting things there, especially with the odds. And, of course, we're going to do Friday night Major League Baseball and also Week 9 of the CFL. And hopefully we'll have some good picks for you this week. But before we get into all that, we're going to do what we always do and start by updating my bankroll. And another down week after just climbing and climbing. We had 2 down weeks in a row, 1 and 4. We started with a bankroll of $668. We had on Friday, we had 3 Major League Baseball bets, and they all lost. The Red Sox bullpen cost us. I was worried about their bullpen losing to the Yankees. The Giants lost at home, minus $22 to the bankroll, and the Braves minus 1.5 runs. They lost to the Marlins, minus $22. We had the Red Blacks plus 7 against the Alouettes, and they won outright, plus $21. And then we had the Eskimos over, a very frustrating loss because there were a couple of gimme field goals and 3 2-point conversions that all missed. And any combination of 6 points there would have given us a win there. But that's the way it goes sometimes. So if you do the math, it is a loss of $67 to our bankroll. So our new bankroll is $601. And because we're selective sports bettors, we're going to divide our bankroll by 30. And our bet size this week is going to be $20 going forward. So frustrating couple of weeks, but I'd really like to get back up on top, and hopefully we can start doing that this week, and then we'll swing right into college and pro football. So let's talk about some NFL, and this week we are going to cover the NFC South. And for those of you that are not familiar with the divisions in NFL, the NFC South consists of the New Orleans Saints, Carolina Panthers, Atlanta Falcons, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Rather competitive division, if I do say so myself. The odds are a little screwy, and we'll talk about those. But the clear-cut favorite in the division is the New Orleans Saints. And if you look at the odds, we're going to start with the season wins total over-under 10.5 wins. Clear and away the favorite for the most wins in this division. To win the division, minus 155 odds. Not bad odds if you believe. Once again, you're tying your money up for 17 weeks, but fair value if you really think that they are the outstanding favorite to win the division. To win the NFC, plus 405 or about 4-1. And to win the Super Bowl, plus 935 or about a little over 9-1. And you've got Drew Brees. You've got Sean Payton. You've got a great running back in Alvin Kamara. You've got a great wide receiver in Michael Thomas. What do you have after that? You've got Ted Ginn as the number 2 wide receiver. You've got Jared Cook as the number 1 tight end. You have a decent kicking game. You have a great punter that never punts because Sean Payton likes to go for it on 4th down, which is usually the correct call depending on your field position. You've got a dome situation for the kicker. Defensive line has some injuries, some depth. They were not great at stopping the run last year. So we'll see how that all shakes out. But receiver depth, to me, is the big issue. If Michael Thomas goes down, what do you have? You have Ted Ginn, Jared Cook, and some receivers that don't have a lot of either experience or skill. And, the Saints have done a good job of finding receivers to fit their system. So I'm sure that somebody will pick up significant slack there. But do you really think that team is going to be like a division winner getting a bye, top 2 seed in the playoffs if they don't have their big 3? Now, I'm not as worried about quarterback depth, unless Drew Brees falls off a cliff. He is 42, 43 years old, somewhere in that range. But they have Ted Bridgewater and Taysom Hill as their other quarterbacks. I'm confident if Brees went down for a few games that they would be able to remain competitive, although obviously their championship hopes take a big hit if Drew Brees either is injured or declines in skill due to age or whatever. So if they can find that big receiver, that balance to Michael Thomas, dangerous team. But I don't think Ted Ginn and Jared Cook are going to make up enough difference. Every team should be doubling Michael Thomas on every play. Maybe Kamara goes nuts this year. He's the number 1 guy. Ingram is gone. So, again, got to stay healthy. How many carries do guys have in their career? The guys that get the super heavy workloads usually end up having shorter careers. But as far as Vegas is concerned, or the odds makers, not necessarily in Vegas or around the world, New Orleans the favorite. So let's move on to the next team. And the second favorite in the division is actually the Carolina Panthers. And their season win total is 7.5. And you would think, since they're the second favorite and the win total 7.5, a full 3 games behind the Saints, that the other 2 teams are just going to be very low season win totals, but that's not the case. To win the division, plus 373. To win the NFC, almost 27-1. To win the Super Bowl, almost 46-1. You've got you've got Christian McCaffrey, who is one of the top running backs in the league. You've got Cam Newton, who you hope that he's healthy and his mind is in the right place. I feel like a lot of his problems have been psychological over the years. I do like Ron Rivera, another coach that makes good game theory decisions in game. And receiving is the big question mark for me here. You've got DJ Short, Chris Hogan, a bunch of guys that just do not, they don't register with me fantasy-wise or otherwise. So what do? You just, you got Greg Olsen at tight end if he can stay healthy. He's been injured every year for like the last 3 years. So if Olsen's healthy, obviously that's a great option. But what do? You dump the ball off to McCaffrey 20 times a game? There has to be balance. Another team where there's balance. And then you have an aging defense, not really any major injuries to worry about. It's just, Luke Kuechly and the gang have been around a while. And again, this is another team that it doesn't, they don't have a shutdown D. They play a lot of these 28 to 21, 24 type games. So, the Panthers, depending, you're trying to read the tea leaves here. If Brees stays healthy, that offense comes together, they're going to be tough to beat. But if there's, an injury to a key player in New Orleans, then all these other teams open up. And Carolina, the second favorite based on the odds makers right now, and the third favorite is the Atlanta Falcons. And even though Carolina has a win total of 7.5, Atlanta, as the third favorite, has a win total of 9. So they're expected to go 9-7. To win the division, they're slightly longer at plus 383. To win the NFC, 14-1, and to win the Super Bowl, 35-1. And as you can see, they are more of a favorite to win the Super Bowl. And you have the issues with the Falcons. You have receiver depth, and you have coaching. And you have a team that has all the tools on the field, but they don't have the tool that they need on the sideline. And I'm sorry to Mr. Quinn, Dan Quinn, the coach of the Falcons, but he's made a lot of bad in-game decisions over the last couple of years. Questions, it really questions, in my opinion, his ability to win the big game. You have Matt Ryan, who is, still going strong. You hope that he's more likely to continue on at his pace. But your receivers, you have Julio Jones, who's great. You have Calvin Ridley, who's great. You have Sanu and Hooper. So you've got 4 really good options. But Jones and Ridley are injured, have had nagging injuries throughout their career. Anybody who's had Julio Jones on their fantasy team knows that you sweat it out every Sunday to see if he's going to suit up or not. He's talking about going for 2,000 yards this year, and he might get 2,000 yards. Who knows? He could be healthy all season long, and they can have a monster year. But if Jones, if any combination of those 4 receivers, if any 2 of them go down, it's going to be a long year for Atlanta. Devonta Freeman is going to be the number 1 all-purpose back, so he's expected to get more touches than he has in the past. This team, again, if it stays healthy as constituted, it's got a legit shot at challenging for the division. But if not, it could be a very, very long year. I would kind of lean under on this one, just because I don't think Julio Jones is going to stay healthy. And, if Matt Ryan went down, they've got no shot. And then finally, in the division, we have the big wild card, which is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And we have their season win total over under 8, and they're expected to win as many games as the Panthers, who had 7.5. Very interesting. So you've got Bruce Arians as the new coach of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's going to bring his Kangol down to Tampa Bay. And we have to win the division almost 13-1, to win the NFC 40-1, to win the Super Bowl 84+1. And so what you have here is last year you had a coach that did not like the personnel, and he tried to run an offense that did not fit his personnel, and they had a very difficult year. This year you have Jameis Winston, you have Peyton Barber at running back, you've got Mike Evans and a bunch of great receivers, O.J. Howard at tight end. This team is built. I actually think it's probably the best defense in the NFC South. And, this team is a huge wild card. If Arians can reclaim Jameis Winston and get him not to force throws and throw interceptions, and they can control the turnover game in the penalty game, this team is legit a playoff contender. It could be a huge disaster. They could be a 3-win team. But if they're competitive through the season, I definitely, think that 8-8 is very doable for them. And then 1 or 2 more wins there, get that confidence going, stay healthy, and all of a sudden they're in the playoffs. So be very interesting to see how that shakes out for the NFC South. But there's a lot of value in the Panthers. If they can find, if Greg Olsen stays healthy and they find the receiving core, they're definitely a playoff contender. I would, pick them for the NFC playoffs. This division is kind of wide open. Every team has a weakness, an Achilles heel. And if you believe in one team over the other, you can find value in almost the odds for every team you pick. So very interesting division, and we'll have another division next week. And let's move on to Major League Baseball. And we've got a full schedule of Friday. I just want to pull up the baseball odds here to make sure I need a reference point. There we go. And we're going to start with the Oakland A's, 1.3. For those of you that don't follow, usually the number in parentheses is my model's equivalent of favoring one team over the other in terms of runs. So we have the Oakland A's 1.43 run favorites at the White Sox, and the odds are minus 193 for the A's, 177 for the White Sox. A's are playing well. They're still competing for a wild card spot. The White Sox have not done well lately. Not much value in this game. I'm just going to pass on it. We got the Yankees, the red-hot New York Yankees at Toronto. J.A. Happ visiting his old team. Yankees 0.75 run favorites, minus 158. At the Blue Jays, plus 146. If it was anybody but J.A. Happ, I would probably bet the Yankees in this spot. Very good odds. But I feel like that because he had a couple of solid years in with the Jays, they know maybe he tips his pitches. I don't know. Just going to stay away from that game. There's no huge value there. Angels plus 143 at the Red Sox, favored by about half a run, minus 155. Again, not great value on taking the favorite here. The Red Sox bullpen scares me. I would actually lean towards the Angels in this game. I'm going to pass on that. And you have two teams that are basically just playing out the string already. Kansas City Royals, 0.36 run favorites, minus 143 at the Tigers, plus 132. Not great odds on the favorite there. You're looking for like a minus 120 there, if those type of numbers. But it's hard to see who's motivated to play at that point in the season. You're just playing out for the rest of the season. Neither one of those teams has a shot at the playoffs at all. And then you've got the Nationals, 0.25 run favorites. Strasburg going tonight at the Mets, plus 109. Stroman for the Mets. The Mets feel like they can compete for a division, and the Nats, of course, are competing for the division, and the Braves. It's going to be a good race in the NL East. I like Strasburg tonight. Minus 118 is a very attractive number to me. The Braves, 0.39 run favorites, minus 138 at the Marlins, plus 127. The Braves have let me down lately. They've been very inconsistent, and there's not enough value in that number for me to even consider taking the Braves tonight. The Cubs, minus 112 at the Reds, 0.1 run favorites, plus 103. So obviously, as we say, if it's a true coin flip situation where the model has these teams almost exactly even, you would take the team with the better odds. And so the home team, the Reds, would be the side I would take in that game. Rangers plus 159 at the Brewers, 0.88 run favorites, minus 173. Once again, there's not much value in taking the Brewers here. Do like them, but the Rangers are known to have offensive outbursts, and 159 is a pretty good number if you're feeling froggy. Let's take a look at the rest of the games on Friday. We have the Indians, 0.45 run favorites, minus 142 at the Twins, plus 131. Very important series here for the lead in the AL Central. I like the Indians. I actually have a futures bet on the Indians to win the World Series at 18-1. Not great odds for tonight's game. I think the value is actually more on the Twins here. Probably just going to stay away from that one. And the Pirates plus 128 at the Cardinals, 0.5 run favorites, minus 139. Chris Archer going for the Pirates. I don't really like that pitching matchup for the Cardinals. The odds are not bad for taking the favorite. Again, I'm probably going to stay away. Diamondbacks plus 164 at the Dodgers, 0.78 run favorites, minus 179. It's Robbie Ray against Buehler. This is one of those things. There's no value in taking the Dodgers. Pretty good number on the Diamondbacks. Can they keep that Dodgers offense off the scoreboard? It'd be very tough to do. Rockies plus 128 at the Padres, 0.73 runs, minus 139. Now, here's an instance where I think there is value on the favorite. The Rockies have just not had good pitching all year long. The Padres have slowly improved their consistency. I feel like they'll get enough runs here to get the job done. Like the Padres at that price. The Rays, 0.58 run favorites, minus 128 at the Mariners, plus 118. Pretty straightforward. You got the Rays battling for a wild card. Mariners, again, playing out the string for them. A good number on the Rays, but Marco Gonzalez is pitching tonight. I don't like that matchup for the Rays all that much. Probably a pass for me. And then the Phillies, 0.07 run favorites, minus 119 at the Giants, plus 110. Again, another situation where you have a true coin flip game, and the better odds are on the home team at plus 110. So that would be the side I would take. And then finally, we have the Astros at the Orioles. I have the Astros at 2.06 runs better than the Orioles. No pitching confirmation, so no odds have been released on this game. And that is going to do it for the Friday night rundown. Wade Miley going for the Astros. So let's move on to my favorite summertime activity, the CFL. It's week 9 of 20. We've got 3 games, including 2 tonight, 1 tomorrow. We're going to start with Saskatchewan Roughriders at the Montreal Alouettes. Alouettes are 2.5 point dogs at home, getting 2.5 points. 49.5 is the over-under. So the Alouettes have not, I thought they were sold. They have not been sold. They're still owned by the league. Once again, you have a team that, because they're controlled by the league, are not probably going to make any moves to try and improve themselves, but find themselves right in the middle of the Eastern Division race. And they lost last week, so I believe they're 3-3 now. But they're definitely playing well enough to get a playoff spot in the East. And you have the Rough Riders in second place, in third place now in the West, but competing for a playoff spot in the West. Cody Fajardo and Vernon Adams, 2 quarterbacks I've liked very much ever since they came into the league, and they finally get their full-time starting gigs, whether it was because of injury or whatever. And have impressed. They don't make stupid mistakes. This should be a good game. I couldn't tell you on the over-under. 51 is usually kind of a median number in the CFL for over-under. It's kind of right there. I guess I would lean under, but Saskatchewan can put up points. I feel like there's 2 good rushing attacks, and if they stick to the ground, it'll be an under game. But it's tough not to take a home dog there, but that game really doesn't excite me at all. So on Saturday, the second game on Friday is the Red Blacks at the Eskimos. Eskimos minus 10.5 points at home, 48.5. These 2 teams, I feel like you have the best, as of right now, you have the best offense in the East with the Red Blacks and the best offense in the West with the Eskimos. So just based on that alone, the over is in play here. 10.5 is a lot of points, but I'm more inclined, the Eskimos could win this by 14 and they could lose. It's going to be tough to predict. It's really tough to lay double digits in the CFL. I really hate to do it. Although I'm inclined to take the Red Blacks plus 10.5, I think the over is the play here. 48.5. These 2 teams could score 70, 80 points. Assuming the weather is cooperating and their starting quarterbacks do not go down. And then on Saturday, it's the BC Lions at the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Tiger Cats favored by minus 10.5 at home. 51 is the over-under. So a couple of weeks ago, Jeremiah Masoli was injured, torn ACL. He is out for the season, and Dane Evans has taken over for the Tiger Cats, and they have not been able to score points. And as bad as the BC Lions have been, at least they have been able to put up 17, 21, 30 points in a game. They do have who was, basically the best quarterback in the league last year, and Mike Riley. They just got 2 new offensive linemen, so I'm hoping that they're going to be improved this week. But just based on the fact that the Tiger Cats haven't been able to score with their backup, I feel like the BC Lions plus 10.5 is the play here. I couldn't tell you on the over-under. I would lean under. Brandon Banks is back for the Tiger Cats, so there could be a return touchdown involved. But it's the BC Lions plus 10.5. I don't have the guts to bet them to win outright. But I feel like this is going to be a very competitive game. I feel like it's going to be less than 10 points either way. So taking the plus 10.5 is obviously the way to go. So to wrap things up, we're going to try and get back on the winning ways. And here are my picks for this weekend. And we're going to start with baseball. I've got the Reds money line versus the Cubs. Trevor Bauer at home, plus 103 on the money line. The Giants at home, trying to sneak back into that wild card race, plus 110 at home. And then the Nationals on the road against the Mets, Strasburg minus 118. And then on Friday night tonight, we're going to have the Red Blacks and the Eskimos over 48.5 minus 111. Expect to see some offensive explosions. And then tomorrow night, woe is me. I'm betting the fool's gold. The BC Lions, once again, plus 10.5, minus 108. Feel like that game will be close. Let's hope there's no bad injuries or anything in that game. So, folks, that's going to do it. Finished under 30 minutes again. We'll have, I believe, around the 20th, college football starting up, and we'll have some games to talk about. So we've got another week of NFL previews next week, and hopefully we'll have some more information about the casinos opening locally, the sports books opening locally, and maybe do a location shoot or something like that. And I'll have a few other surprises down the road, interview or two that might interest you. So thanks again for tuning in and for watching. And I'm going to play the outro music for you, and let's get some winners. Everybody take care. See you soon.